Hello, welcome back to the boat shop. Today is, oh gosh, what is today? The 11th of November? 13th of November? Yeah, 13th of November. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a nice soggy day out today. And we needed the rain, so no complaints there. But yeah, it's the middle of November, so I guess that's to be expected. Going out. Alright, in news this week, I ran out of plywood. So I had to pick up more, and I went to my normal Menards store, which is our home improvement store here in the area, and it's a little over 40 miles away, and they only had 5 sheets of this plywood. So I looked at the next nearest store, which is a little over 60 miles away in the opposite direction. And so on Monday I went to the one store and we got 5 sheets. And then yesterday on Tuesday we went the other direction to the other store and picked up 20 more sheets. So that should get me a good share of the way to finish the deck on the boat up here. But not quite get it done. But I looked at my second option. The second Menards store that I went to is in a city that also has a Lowe's and a Home Depot. And I looked in both Lowe's and Home Depot, and they don't have any similar type of plywood to this. They don't have a sanded, exterior rated 4x8 sheet, 1/2-inch plywood. They got sheathing plywood, which is, like a BC plywood, but that stuff is absolutely horrible. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not, but it's normally curved and got big chunks out of it, and poor laminations, and probably only 3 layers as opposed to 5 layers. And yeah, it's just not good stuff. There's no way I was going to use that in the boat. So fortunately, I found enough at that second store to get me by for a while, and hopefully they'll get more in. The thing is, I checked with them at the desk, and their distribution center was out. In other words, the company itself was completely out of this stuff in their warehouses. So he said when more comes in is unknown, anybody's guess. So we're lucky we got what we got, and this should get me most of the way through. I've got pretty much 1 layer on now on top of the boat, and we got 2 more layers to go. I got 2 layers over the pilot house or over the engine room there. But so this should get me the second layer completely on and a good start on the 3rd layer. So we'll need a little bit more eventually. But a couple other things I've been thinking about. I ordered a couple of hinges here, and these are hinges that will go on the like the lazarette hatch in the back there. They'll sit on the deck like this, and then the hatch will have a face on the edge, to keep water out, and then this will flip. It'll still be up, but it'll be back a little bit. So yeah, that should work all right, I think. And these have pins that you can actually remove and take them out. And then I'll have to get some latches to latch the other end. Another thing that I picked up was a bunch of these small 1/4-inch lag bolts. I've got some frames inside that I've been meaning to do this to, for years now. And I haven't got it done yet. So I bought some of these, and I ordered a new counterbore bit for these. So these bolts and washers, I can counterbore into those deck beams. And I'll show you what I'm talking about there a little bit. But let me take you up here and show you what we got going here. So pretty much the entire deck is covered in a layer, with the exception of that one spot back there where I need to put a hatch in. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I really wanted to put a bigger hatch in back there, and I think maybe I mentioned that in my last video. There's 18 inches between the deck beams, between deck beams back there, and so that's all the wider that opening can be to get in there. And I got some ideas on how to do it to maximize that space, but I'll get into that when I actually get around to building that framing for that hatch, which won't happen now until, of course, we get 2 more layers of plywood on here. But another thing was this opening here into the aft cabin. Now we can certainly make this easier to get in and out of if we would cut excuse me, if we would cut this down to the deck here. Now I realize this of course is going to be inside the pilot house, but we could cut all this out so it would just be a shorter ladder, shorter entry to get down in there, and you wouldn't have to step up and over this. But the thing is, I'm really loath to reduce the strength of the boat. The whole point design of this boat is to be strong and to be an ocean-going, ocean-capable boat. And by cutting this out, not a lot, but it's going to reduce the strength of the boat. And it's also going to make it harder to prevent down flooding in the boat. Should you ever knock out the windows in the pilot house, or capsize the boat, or just get knocked down or whatever, and get water in the pilot house, it would just whoosh right in there. And if I left it like this, just an opening like this, you could just build a hatch type thing. So if you're in risky weather whatsoever, you can just close this hatch and latch it and not worry about down flooding back here. Now, the next opening there, going from the pilot house down into the Fore cabins in the boat, that's going to be a different story. We'll have to do something there, and I'm guessing maybe in the pilot house itself, because this will again be inside, we'll just have a door that opens, that we can open and close to get down into that area. So that would, for the most part, prevent down flooding there if we just have a door opening into that. And I know doors and stuff like that up here aren't real handy, aren't real practical. But again, if you're at sea, you got a storm blowing up, potential to be knocked down, windows knocked out, and again, windows knocked out too. I mean, look how far we got, 20 some feet between the pilot house and the bow there. And that bow, you can also see how much it rises, and it's going to be even higher when the boat's floating on its water line. It's a foot higher yet at the bow. So, we shouldn't have too many waves breaking over the bow. If they are, it's, we're probably in trouble anyway. But, I don't know, just all things I'm thinking about, that have to be taken into consideration. So, yeah, I got in there. You can't see it real well, but I got that all vacuumed out in there and cleaned up, fairly well down in there. And like I said, just one little piece to go here yet. And once I decide what we're going to do, what size that hatch is going to be, I'll go ahead and fill that piece in. And then I've been getting ready to start doing this here. Little John was out here the other day and doing a little work up here too. He did some routing around the edge there. You can see that edge over here looks pretty decent. That's because he ran the router around there. Well, I did some and he did some. And then we've been doing some sanding on the deck and cleaning up any glue between the joints and whatnot. Yeah, we got a little more work here to do, but yeah, I'm going to start putting the second layer on forward. And I've got this area here ready to go for the most part, sanded and prepped and whatnot. So yeah, we'll get started on that here shortly. And I also ordered a hatch, a regular deck hatch for in the cabins. And like I said, there's going to be 2 up here, one in the saloon, one up in that forward cabin, and then one more back here in this cabin here, just for ventilation and light and as an emergency escape. And those are basically 20-inch openings. They're bigger than that, but that's the actual opening on the inside of the hatch. When you flip the hatch open, there's a 19 and 15/16 inch square opening, which should be big enough for most people to get out of. That's what they're designed for. So I've got one of those ordered, and the reason there is so I can get the holes established in the deck before I start getting the second layer on there, because I think it's going to be easier to put subsequent layers on it and get the holes in there properly if I've got the holes the holes in the initial layer sized properly. So I got that hatch order, just one of them. I'll need 3, of course, but I got just one of them ordered. But that's so I can get sizing, figured out. And I think what I'm going to do is probably cut a bigger piece of 3/4 inch plywood and then glue it down to the deck so it's level, because obviously the deck is curved with thwart chips. So we'll glue it down, a little thickened epoxy. It's not going to be much, just 1/4 of an inch at the outside edges that it'll have to be built up. But we want to get that flat to mount the hatch, so probably just some 3/4 inch plywood will do that. Then that brings that hatch up off the deck a little bit more too, to help water run off of it. But yeah, that's where we are today. Not a huge amount of progress, but yeah, we continue to make progress, and yeah, we'll see how it goes, and we'll talk to you again next week. All right, back in the aft cabin, and as you can see in here, I got it significantly cleaner than it was. It was just a horrible mess. There's going to be the sink and head, shower. Yeah, we're going to have a bed over here, a bed in there, and that's this piece of plywood is for just kind of a bunk there. I'm going to have a little desk back here, then maybe a chair right in here, just an easy chair or something. Yeah, not a huge cabin, but certainly big enough. There is room in here if somebody wanted to put a centerline queen size bed in here, you could. Like I said, for me that wasn't that important. It was probably more important for me to be able to get a chair and a desk and stuff in here. But anyway, I promised to show you what I was going to do with those lag bolts, and that deals with this back here. As you can see, there's pieces glued and screwed in here to make this angle to come up to the deck beams up here. And George had talked about putting bolts through here, lag bolts through here, small lag bolts to help support this. Now I've got 2 pieces of 2x6 material making my frames here, and so this one is squared off here so that it's gluing and screwing these 2 pieces together to keep this piece in place anyway. So it probably wouldn't be necessary to put those lag bolts through here, but not that big a deal to put them in, so I thought I would. George had given you really 3 options on the frames in this boat. The first one is what he was his standard go-to. It was 2.5 inch wide frames. Just individual frames, and then you're going to have to cut these. Then you certainly would have had to have lag bolted those together if you were just using one piece of wood up here. His next option was to double up like I did here and use 2 2x6s, which is the strongest option. He gave you a third option of just using single 2x6s, which he said would be okay. But it wasn't his first choice. So I went with the strongest option again, doubling up the 2x6s, and I'm going to put these lag bolts in. I got 6 inch lag bolts. This is 5.5 inches, and we'll countersink these 3/4 of an inch or so, and then probably plug the holes. But that'll not only bring these 2 together, but it'll also go into the frames just a little bit, or the planking just a little bit. Go into that planking 3/4 of an inch or an inch to help hold everything together there too. So that's the purpose for those lag bolts. Would it be necessary? No, but again, when it comes to trying to make the boat as strong as possible, yeah, we do what we can. Like I said, pretty much everything I've done when I'm building this boat, not for being pretty, but for being strong. So that's the way we're going there. So yeah, but yeah, it feels different back here again now too. Another thing I did too is I put this bulkhead piece back in. I hadn't installed this until just before I started working on the decking here, but it was time to get that in so I could get it trimmed down to meet. But yeah, you can see all my epoxy ooze. Normally I clean that up, but with this bunk here, it was kind of hard to reach, and yeah, that's going to get covered up with an overhead of some sort too. But yeah, you can see how these are laying up there. It's, you know, got good contact and good squeeze out of the glue, and yeah, so it should be nice and strong. But yeah, that's things back here. I just thought I would mention that because I talked about it earlier and let you show you what I was talking about there.